Hey everybody, welcome to M2M Coverage. This is Suraj Zaveri, joined by Gabe Pickup, Kevin Kim, Geoff A, and John Antonelli. He is our new analyst. He runs B-Ball at B-Ball, a very famous Instagram account, a lot of good posts. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. Hey John, how you doing by the way?
Good. How are you, Siraj?
Thanks for joining us. I'm doing great, by the way. We are ready for the NBA Finals. Lakers, Heat. I was wrong with both of my picks. Nuggets was a dumb pick, but I also thought the Celtics would win. So I'm have to make up for that on these final predictions. Geoff A is sitting there. He said he would be retiring if the Miami Heat ended up defeating the Boston Celtics. So I don't know what we're gonna do with that. But let's
Liar.
just yeah, you want to go ahead?
No,
Gonna
I
say
was just
something?
coughing and saying liar, man. I think that's Cap right there because I still see him.
Yeah. We definitely have to deal with whatever we're gonna do with Joffrey. Maybe let him decide. But let's get into this matchup. This is a really interesting matchup. LeBron James versus Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra is how I see it and how the media sees it. I think it's a great matchup because LeBron leaving Miami, Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra with a team with very few superstars but a great collective team effort that we saw from Miami in those Eastern Conference finals. It's a really interesting matchup. John, who do you have? How many games?
So going off your point of the depth and the all around like aspect of the Heat, I do see them giving the Lakers a tough shot, but I gotta go with Lakers. I'm going with Lakers in five. Still holding to that. It all depends on these first two games. So if Heat go up one game this first game, I could see this going to either game five or game seven, and I think it's one of the two, and it all comes down to how the Heat can handle LeBron James. I think Bam can give AD a little run for his money, um, but to the point is like I can also see AD, given the Heat trouble with LeBron, but Dragic and Hero have a upper hand on KCP and Rondo, in my opinion. So I think all around the depth of the Heat is definitely going to be something that I think they're a better Nuggets, if that makes sense. They're a better Nuggets all around team. I think Heat would have beat the Nuggets as well. Um, but I don't think it'll be I don't think it'll be like an easy go for both teams. But I still can see the Lakers stomping them though.
Yeah, for sure. The Lakers are a heavy favorite just based on odds, ESPN percentage predictions. LeBron is out for his fourth title. We've seen his mentality, the way he ended that Nuggets series. Um, but let's move on to Gabe. I want to hear what Gabe has to say on the Heat and the Lakers.
Yeah, so the Heat, I got to give them credit. They kind of remind me of the 2012-13 Spurs, not the champion Spurs, but the 12-13 Spurs, just in how they're coached. They've got two players at every single position that could start on a playoff team, let alone a contender. Um, they're just top to bottom. There's not really much weakness, and I slept on that coming into the playoffs, as pretty much everyone did. However, I don't think that LeBron wants to be 3-7. I don't think he wants to lose to his former team. There was definitely some hate in the fact that it took LeBron like 6-7 years to even beat the Heat in their own place. I don't think he wants to lose four times to them, and I think there's some management that he wants to show that he's still the best player in the NBA too in Miami. Anthony Davis is a player that, just in terms of when playing with LeBron, I think he's the best teammate LeBron has ever had. That's no disrespect to D Wade. He is a legend, but he was slightly out of his prime on that big three team. That's no disrespect to Kyrie. I just think that Anthony Davis is such a nice two-way player. It's going to be really hard to stop. Bam Adebayo could slow him down a little bit, but that's where if LeBron carries, even though Iguodala is one of the better defenders on LeBron all time, I just don't see how the Heat can stop him when he's making 11 assists a game, when he has AD to go to, when he has KCP, Danny Green, inconsistent but can catch fire. Alex Caruso has been a great story. Rondo can do, similar things to what LeBron does in terms of passing, so LeBron doesn't have to carry the load. As great as the Heat are coached, as great as front management was, I just think that it's kind of giving me 12-13 Spurs vibes. So I got to go with the Lakers. It's going to be really close. I'm going to go Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6. Fair prediction there. And you mentioned Iguodala, who's been to like the last 7 finals on different teams, but he's been moving around. But he's definitely been a model of consistency with regards to whatever role he's given, he can perform. And then going back to your AD and LeBron point, I think AD might be the finals MVP if the Lakers win this series, because he's the one who's been putting up the points. LeBron obviously is going to show that he's the greatest player, but AD is going to be the one who helps put them over the top. And that's why you have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. Kevin Kim, your prediction.
Yeah, so I picked the Miami Heat to beat the Pacers. I picked the Miami Heat to beat the Bucks. I picked the Miami Heat to beat the Celtics. So far I have been 3-0 picking the Miami Heat. And right now, as it stands, I am leading Gabe, Serge, and Joffrey in our NBA playoffs predictions. All I need to do is pick the Lakers to clear favorites here, and I'll win the prediction series. But I'm not going to. I'm going to pick the Miami Heat. And this is why. Look, when I heard that the Lakers beat the Nuggets in 5, my immediate thought was Lakers in 6. I was like, there's no way that anyone can, bet against LeBron James, possibly the greatest player of all time, especially when he's in the quest for that 4th ring, which will probably take him over the top in the GOAT conversation, no matter how many MJ truthers like Joffrey A would like to deny that. But I think if LeBron gets the 4th ring, he's undoubtedly the greatest of all time. But anyways, why am I picking against LeBron James? Because I feel like this Miami Heat is the perfect recipe to pull off the upset. They've been a Cinderella story throughout this entire series. And who else has such intimate knowledge about how LeBron James plays and his tendencies than Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, and this Miami Heat organization? Don't forget, it's not just about LeBron who left the Heat. Pat Riley left the Lakers. This is his revenge story for Pat Riley as well. He won 6 rings with the Lakers. He left in, I think, 90, if I'm not mistaken. So there's bad blood on both sides here. Now, towards basketball side, why am I picking the Heat? Because I think that Bam Adebayo can successfully guard Anthony Davis. I think he's going to be the best guard on Anthony Davis that Anthony Davis has seen throughout this entire playoffs. Now, if Bam gets in foul trouble, then the Miami Heat are done. They're cooked. They're gone in 5 or 6. But if Bam can stay clean, and I think that the Heat had done a great job in limiting star players on other teams. Example, look at the Bucks. Example, look at the Celtics. Then this Miami Heat team can successfully bother LeBron James and Anthony Davis enough so that their role players will outplay the Lakers' role players. That is my prediction. I'm going to go with Heat in 7.
Hey, I got a rebuttal after Joff makes his pick.
Yeah. I'll just say I got Lakers in 6. No disrespect to the Heat whatsoever. LeBron's going to end this. Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra are not actually on the floor, and LeBron is on the floor. LeBron can take over whenever he wants. And I think AD will get Bam into foul trouble. He got Jokic into foul trouble all of that series, and that's really what put the Nuggets away because Jokic couldn't play those minutes down the stretch in the 3rd. Joff A, what do you want to do with regards to your analyst status?
You see, I'm an idiot. I picked the Pacers to beat the Miami Heat. I picked the Milwaukee Bucks to beat the Miami Heat. And I picked the Boston Celtics to beat the Miami Heat. I'm an idiot. I'm tired of underrating the Heat. I'm tired of disrespecting the Heat. And I'm going to pick the Heat in 7. I'm not going to provide much analysis because obviously my analysis is complete garbage. I agree with Kevin on everything. And I'm going to stick to my word. This will be one of my last episodes. And I'm done. I'm done as a basketball analyst for M2M. This is it. This is one of the last episodes I'm going to do. The reason I'm here is because of Kevin. Kevin wanted me to do this for some reason. I'm done.
Can I change my prediction now? Because if Joffrey has the same prediction as you, more than likely you're going to be wrong, you know?
Okay. We have 2 out of 5 people picking the Heat. Gabe, do you want to respond to what they said?
Yeah, I just first before we get into the rebuttal, Joff, I got a question for you. How the hell are you gonna pick the Celtics to sweep and then the Heat to beat the Lakers when clearly the Lakers are the best team in the playoffs?
You see, I hate both fan bases. I hate the Heat fan base. I hate the Lakers fan base. But, I hate the Lakers fan base a little bit more, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. The other reason, Kevin's absolutely right about Bam Adebayo. He's a great defender. He's shown me that he can stop big men like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I think he does the same thing to Anthony Davis. And if you look at the playoffs, Anthony Davis has been a major part of the Lakers, and I don't think this Lakers team is going to be as good if Anthony Davis is limited. And because of that, I'm picking the Heat in 7.
All right, you know what? That's fair. As long as you're admitting that there's just a slight bit of bias in there, I'm okay with that. I can take it with a little bit of salt. But Kevin, going back to your point about Pat Riley, this is his revenge series against the Lakers. Pat Riley's not only not a player, he's not a coach. He doesn't really have any impact on this series. Sure, he has an impact on the roster that got them there, but he doesn't have any coaching abilities in this playoffs besides maybe a phone call to the coach on what maybe to do. But he won't have an impact in this series. It'll strictly come down to LeBron versus LeBron and AD versus that Miami Heat team. And sure, in past series when it's been I remember Siraj said this, LeBron and AD versus Jamal and Jokic would cancel each other out and the Nuggets would have a better core. But in that series, it showed that duo of LeBron and AD was so much better than Jokic and Murray that it didn't matter the rest of the bench. I think that LeBron and AD are so much better than Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo that it doesn't matter how great they are at defending them. It doesn't matter how good they are at pick and roll offense, at kicking it out to the shooters. I just think that duo, it might be the best duo since Kobe and Shaq. I don't see how they're going to be stopped. I don't think you can double one because then it makes the other one that much better. I don't think you can double one and put your best defender on one because then they can still kick it out to the open shooter. I just don't see any way that the Heat will they can make it a close series, but I don't see any way that they will win. And I don't think Pat Riley has anything to do with it.
In response to that, I think you have a point there about Pat Riley. But I do feel like, Pat Riley does have coaching experience, and I feel like there is some type of incentive there that Pat Riley can kind of motivate this team as a whole, as emotionless as he is. And also just going back to the point about how they can just kick back to their shooters. Well, first of all, the Lakers shooters are very streaky. And also I think the Miami Heat have great perimeter defense that can actually combat that. Now, my only concern with the Miami Heat here are that AD is a great shooter, right? He's one of those bigs that can actually stretch the floor and shoot at the three-point line. And I do feel like Bam can guard that, but my only concern is with the offensive rebounds. The Lakers are great at rebounding on the offensive floor, and if the Heat really can't get that, then that's a huge problem. But the difference between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat is that, yes, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were restricted throughout the whole series. But I would say the Miami Heat play more synthesis than the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets rely on Murray and Jokic basically for every single game. Whereas the Heat, it can be anyone who pops off for them. Tyler Hero is playing lights out. If he played like this throughout the whole regular season, he would have been Rookie of the Year. And then you see Duncan Robinson, who's a lights out shooter. You got the great veteran presence in Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala, who can provide that great stingy defense. This is why I think the Miami Heat can actually successfully annoy LeBron and AD enough. And I don't trust guys like Kyle Kuzma and Markieff Morris to make those, quality shots that the Lakers really will need.
Okay. I want to end with John's take because he said Lakers in 5, which is probably the most one-sided out of our predictions. John, what did you have that really like shows that the Lakers are just gonna stomp their foot down on the Heat?
I think one thing we're forgetting is the Lakers' defense and their ability to make plays on the perimeter and in the paint. To most of your points, I mean, I don't think Tyler Hero is the guy that's going to be the saving factor of the Heat, or I don't think Jimmy Butler can definitely make a dent, but it has to come from two things, and one of them is their offense, and the other one is stopping a force like LeBron and a force like AD. And I think people forget just Lakers defense is really top tier, and the Heat, if they can't make shots and they in transition, we saw against the Celtics in the last game, close to the end, Hero was getting picked off by Marcus Smart, and like easy plays that will make the Heat crumble. I feel Lakers can capitalize on those moments, and we've seen the Heat go down and we've seen them come back, but it's against the Celtics team compared to a Lakers team which can easily finish them off if they're going in the fourth, leading in the fourth. I don't think Heat will be able to come back from most of those games that the Lakers start to get on a pace that they got on in Game 5 against the Nuggets. So, I mean, we saw it with LeBron. He had back-to-back 30-point triple-double games against arguably a team just as good as the Nuggets. The Heat will be against the Lakers. And whether it's the Celtics or the Heat, I had Lakers, maybe it's not 5, it could be 6, but I just had the Lakers winning this series, no doubt.
Yeah, very, very good point there. I liked that you brought up the Heat-Celtics series because the Celtics had leads in every single one of those games pretty much. There were substantial leads. The Celtics can't maintain those leads, but the Lakers, you definitely showed that the Lakers will be able to maintain those leads.